Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hello,
Sorry for my
great.
tardiness.
Hey,
Oh, no
look what I got, Alan.
problem. I'm just catching up with Chris about stuff, talking about SCAD, TV Fest, and all kinds of stuff. But great to have you. Okay, cool. Then
Thank you very much.
yeah, I'll get started. My first question is, have you experienced the Netflix bump that so many shows experience? Which Chris kind of talked about that a little bit, but I thought you guys were trending at number one at some point, which was really exciting.
We were trying.
Um,
I think, Alan, it affects you a little. I mean, it affects me a little bit, but I think as an actor on screen, I'm curious what your experience has been after it was
Yeah.
on Netflix.
right, I did notice a difference, and just more people have been coming up to me, and I was working on a movie uh, right recently, and I was very popular, like more popular than was warranted. There were much more popular people around, but I was popular with not just the cast members, but with the crew and with transpo and with catering. Everybody was very happy to see me and talking about our show. And
Wow.
it was Netflix, and that didn't happen before. You know, sci-fi just has a narrow audience. That sounds awful. That we have a narrow audience doesn't
Oh,
go
it has a
narrow-minded.
small. That's numbers. It
It's
has
a
a
smaller audience,
yeah,
Audience. It's a niche
smaller
audience.
audience.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a niche, but
Yeah.
this show has always been one that definitely since Netflix has proven to be one that can reach across genres. You know, it's not just made for people who are devout sci-fi fans. They're for people who like comedies and dramas, and the fact that there's an alien in it is the thing that kind of becomes like the thing they share with me a lot is I usually don't like anything with sci-fi, but
Yeah,
like it's their dirty little secret, but I like yours. So it's been nice.
Chris, have you noticed too, like, like you spoke a little bit before about it, but like, has it been something that things have kind of, you feel a different vibe about the show this season?
yeah. I have. I mean, I feel it in a similar way. I mean, I don't have people coming up to me on the street for obvious reasons, but you hear from, but I have the other element of it the actors have, which is I'm sure they're hearing from people they grew up with or people they went to school with or, that now know they're in this show and are watching it. And I definitely have heard
Right.
from people in my past, family members who weren't able to see it because they don't have SyFy or Peacock, and now they've seen it. So it's also become that show that, my aunt will come up to me and say, I was at a restaurant and I heard people talking about it, so she's all excited. And but yeah, so definitely people are talking about it. And I get a kick out of talking to the actors about being approached. And I know Sarah has been, Sarah Tomko, who plays Asta, gets stopped almost every time she leaves the house, which
She's so great.
I think is great. She's fantastic. And I
Yeah.
haven't talked to Alice about it, but she looks like Darcy. I mean, she has the red hair and, she's got to get
Yes.
all the time. So yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
great.
That's
I haven't been
awesome.
able to tell you, Chris, that I was asked, somebody asked me to sign an autograph, came up to me to ask for an autograph this weekend and asked me to write one of their favorite quotes from the show, which is one of your lines. It was from season 2. See if you remember it. Um, they wanted me to write, "She's about to present like an engorged macaque."
That
Thank you. That
actually
says so
was.
much.
I don't think that was my line. That was one of the writers, and I
Uh,
don't remember who wrote it, but that was not mine. But I love that. I mean, that's to me the stuff that's great. People being affected by the show, and you hear those stories more too. People watching it on Netflix and writing into the chat boards or whatever, saying, I'm going through this tough thing in my life, and thank you for your show because it makes me feel better about my place in the world. And that's the whole point of what we're trying to get across. So it's nice that more people are being affected by that message.
Yeah. I love the addition of Edie Patterson this season. What was it like having her join the cast? There's this quote on Twitter right now about two people matching each other's freak. And I feel like that's Heather and Harry.
I mean, you know, from my standpoint, Edie was incredible. You know, when I first, you know, actually was Alan was a big reason we hired her, because he was talking about her and how funny she was. And I talked to her and she was totally game to do stuff and wanted to improv, and just her energy seemed like it would fit perfectly. And it also is the nicest person in the world. And then seeing her and Alan together was sort of magic. So
Yeah, it was a blast. It was the first time, you know, it was the first time that Harry had been around an alien that he could that knew of Harry's people, that, you know, she knew a history of his people. You know, they typically are very stoic, and so she understood why he was special and could appreciate, you know, so she could appreciate Harry in a different way. But just her, you know, being able to have somebody that he could commiserate with, and of course they were in love, so they could also have such unbound affection for one another. And it was unbound, although maybe they got into bondage as well. But we had that one scene in the it was a dinner party, and
That's the scene I want to ask about, because that scene is incredible. So
the kissing scene, unbelievable.
Yeah,
It was one
what
of
was
the best
that like?
things we did all year. Yeah.
The writing, like it was, you know, it's an action within the scene, so it says, I think it said something along the lines, she passes Harry a note that's only meant for him, and he reads it and he likes it very much, and he gets even more aroused than he already was, and that says they kiss. It's awkward, I think, something along those lines. They awkwardly kiss, something along those lines. So we talked about it beforehand, like, so what are you thinking? Pretty much, how are you, you know, judging the thing? And I said, well, here's one thing I want to suggest, that if you're okay with it, could you chew up some?
Edie. You
Yeah,
and
I was.
Yes.
Yeah, Edie and I talking
Yeah.
and talking, and I asked her, could you put some sunflower seeds in your mouth, chew them up, and then just spit it in my mouth like a shotgun blast? And so that let her know where my boundaries were, and sort of what I was thinking in the scene. And she was like, got it. And so that ended up not even being the funniest thing, that it didn't end up in the scene.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember that. Yeah.
Well, it didn't end up
It
in the
did.
scene because she leaned you forward and you had your head back, and she started spitting in your mouth, and then she started laughing so hard she couldn't hold it in.
Yeah, because it was so it was such a violent spit that I had requested, and she was being she's very generous. But all of that, you know, it's a good scene partner when, you know, there's a thing with the tongue. Remember the tongue? She's blowing and my tongue's coming out the side, and that was never planned or talked about or even thought of before it happened. So that speaks to how we work together. I think it was a good pairing.
There's an energy on the set when we're doing something very funny, and two moments. I mean, there's been more than that, but to me, the two of the bigger moments. One was season 2 when the octopus number 42 had that melodramatic death scene, and Alan was giving it CPR, like in its under mouth or something, and like pumping on it. And that, I mean, everyone on set, the crew, some of them had to leave set while we were shooting because they were laughing so hard. Like there's definitely was an energy then, and I recognized that energy during the kiss as well, that people were doing their best, including the actors, Sarah and Alice, Asta and Darcy, who were sitting right across from them, were doing everything in their power not to burst out laughing while they were doing this kissing stuff. And shooting, we did it for a couple of hours, and there was a lot of it. And I, in editing, tried to piece together as many of those moments to make it as ridiculous as possible. But the chemistry between Alan and Edie is so fantastic, and they're so funny together. And that's a perfect example of it. just that one was memorable.
Yeah, I just love that scene. I thought it was like iconic. Like I was watching an iconic scene happen. Like this is gonna be a yeah. I also realized, this show is so much about motherhood. I was thinking about that with whether it's Asta and Jay or Kate and her daughter. She's desperate to get back. Was that just a happy accident, or is Resident Alien some sort of commentary on motherhood in some way?
I think it's a commentary on a lot of things. The motherhood thing was a happy accident in large part. I think we would have hit it at some point because there's a lot of themes that thread through. But certainly the aspect of it that I didn't see coming was the connection between Asta and Harry and the motherhood connection there, where Asta had to give away her daughter Jay early on and never had the opportunity to mother a child. And here Harry comes into the world and needs a mother essentially to sort of teach him right from wrong, teach him how to be human, teach him what these feelings mean inside of him. And Asta becomes the mother to Harry. That wasn't planned by me.
Wow.
I think it was a natural progression of the writing and the acting, and the chemistry between Sarah and Alan that developed that. And then from that, a lot of these different, from that thread, a lot of them came out, and a lot of certainly the leaning into the connection between Asta and Jay and what it means to try to pull back a child that you were in a horrible situation, had to give up. And then Kate has her situation. What are you willing to do for a child, type of thing. And I think through all of this, Harry is learning an awful lot about how to be human, and watching how Asta is a parent, and watching how Dan is a parent to Asta, gives him the tiniest amount of information emotionally to be able to parent his own child, Bridget. So I think they all sort of connect as they happen. Did you feel that too, Alan? Like,
yes,
your Bridget stuff with, I mean, in a you have no idea how to do it way, but the love connection, it's funny because that same love connection is there that I think surprised Harry. Harry just doesn't know what to do with it and doesn't know how to keep a baby alive. So that's the difference, I guess.
Yeah, because he's back and forth. He's surprised he didn't eat it. He has to fight the urge to eat his child because it's so delicious. But he's overcome with emotion at the end of season 2, and I love that moment when I think he says, "Okay, it's okay, you can go." Like, wait a minute, why am I feeling? No, you can't go. I need you. I need you.
Yeah.
Come to me, baby. And then it's just so ridiculous. And he does his best. And he also parents the alien tracker's son as best he can. He gives him time out and gives him clothes that he steals from Goodwill. But yeah, he's bad at parenting, but he's trying, I guess. He could pay a little better attention to Asta. Pay a little better attention to some of the other.
Yeah.
You could, yeah.
One last question. So I read a really interesting article in Rolling Stone about Resident Alien and how having everyone in on the secret about Harry really allows the cast and the show to flourish. And I was wondering if that has helped with the story, with writing and acting too. I feel like it probably changed the dynamic a little bit.
It does change it changes the dynamic a lot. So you have to be careful with it, and you can't, if episode 3 of season 1, everyone in town knew he was an alien, it'd be a different show. So there's a lot of power in secrets in shows like this. I think in my original breakout, when I pitched the show, Asta found out that Harry was an alien in episode 4. And in season 1, we delayed it to episode 8, which I think was the right move. It just, the longer you wait, the more of a buildup there is, and it's a bigger moment when someone finds out. So, Darcy didn't find out to the end of season 2. And by the time she finds out, that was a huge moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weight to it, and you have to be careful when people find out, but it's a balance, because I think that I read the article as well, and I think it's right. I think if you wait too long, you're not giving the audience something they want and they get bored with the show. So I think it's
Yeah.
important to try to give them, you try to give the audience what they want, not necessarily when they think they're going to get it. That makes sense.
Yeah. How about you, Alan? Did you feel like a freedom in with the character of Harry, with having the secret out?
Yes, it becomes like in the practical, just sort of day to day at work. What's great is when the more people who know, the more scenes I get to have with them, the more work I get to do with them. So I got to work with Alice more, because now she knows I'm an alien. So we get to get trapped in an alien thing. It's not, I don't have to hide from her anymore. So she becomes a part of different parts of the story. So that's great. Also with Asta's father, who I want to call Gary, but I don't. That's Gary. Yeah, it's great. But I also like the secret as well.
Yeah.
Hiding it from people, and Harry's terrible at secrets. It's he's. I think it's fun having that dynamic of Harry acting weird and people going, man, that's weird. That dude is just strange. If it just makes sense to everybody, it isn't you lose something. So having both is great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. This was so fun.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Enjoy your.
Thanks so much, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Megan.
Cheers, Megan.
Bye.
Bye.